Good evening, everyone. Everyone from YouTube, Twitter, and maybe Rumble if I click the right buttons. Tonight, very special guest, Rob Geronimo.
Oh,
He,
that
there's
sounded like you were going to say one more thing.
oh, I was, yeah, sorry. I'm an idiot who forgot to turn off the sound and was getting a little feedback.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay. Maybe
been
it's me. Is it me? Are you getting feedback from me?
no, it was me.
Oh,
That's host fail right there. But at any rate,
fail. Yes. Hello, everyone. Greetings, travelers. Hugh
for
Salugia.
anyone not in the know,
Mm-hmm.
Rob Geronimo is the artist, author extraordinaire for
Mm-hmm.
the Blood Realm series
Very
and
good.
Wirehead.
But he practiced that before, so excellent.
I did.
And Wirehead. Yes, 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 yes.
So it's good to have you back. It's been
Thank
a
you.
little bit.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah. The campaign last time I spoke to you, the campaign uh hadn't launched. So now we're here, and it's going well. We got how many days left? We're almost at that goal. Oh, it's driving me crazy. I tell
Well, here we are. Let's 12 days left.
12 days
That's
left.
not bad. Only 18% left to go.
Oh, it says 11 days left on my end, not 12. That's weird.
Hmm?
Why does it say that's
Oh,
strange?
it must have just changed.
Oh, wow. It's like, are you
Yeah.
in the past and am I in the future?
Usually we hope the total goes up and not the time goes down, but
Yes.
I guess we'll take what we can get today.
Host fail. No, I'm kidding.
Pretty much. Yeah, one time I had Pete on,
Hmm.
and I forgot I had been using a VPN
Yeah.
that said I was in Canada. So the totals came up in Canadian dollars, and he was like, "Wow, I can't believe the campaign's increased that much."
And then you're like,
Like, oops,
sorry.
pretty
Oops.
much.
Oh, man. Okay.
All right.
Well, yeah, but we're almost there. What is that? Just about, what was that, 1,700 away? If I do my math right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1701, I think.
And one.
Which I'm sure you're gonna make that.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of the things that I learned about you since last time was you spent some time in China.
Yes. Yes, I did.
And if you don't mind, just tell everyone what exactly were you doing there?
Oh, yeah, sure. I was studying abroad. This was for my master's degree in art history. I spent a
Mm.
good, it was like a month and a half around there, just about. And it was a phenomenal experience. And it was educational in different ways. Obviously, I had studied some of the art in the East, but it's a humbling experience because what was so wild about it, I wanted to go to a country where I was a total outsider. And let me tell you, in some of these places in China, which I'm sure you know,
Uh-huh.
you stick out like a sore thumb.
Yep.
Yeah, because yep.
There's no hiding it.
No, zero. And I wanted that experience. I wanted to do that once where, you know what, I could go to all these different places that are very familiar, you know. Um, it's not, and that's not a knock on, anything Western. I ended up studying abroad after that in Italy.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, but the first experience, I wanted baptism by fire. I wanted to be in a completely different place, completely different culture. And I loved it. I loved it. It was a learning experience in many different ways. The culture, the food, even certain things that I may had taken for granted in my own country. And I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, not everybody has X, Y, and
Toilets?
Z. What was that? Yeah.
Toilets? Yeah. Toilet paper for sure.
That is a real thing. Let me tell you. Wow. That is a real thing. Um, yeah, but still, the landscape was very inspiring. And it certainly influenced Blood Realm as well. That's why there is a queen of Voroggoth, because I was so fascinated. If you look too, if any of you have seen the queen in Blood Realm, in the very first issue, she has this very, I would say, Asian Eastern design in terms of her headdress and her outfit. And of course, I mixed it with a little Greek, to maintain that kind of Eastern influence. But I wanted to have something like that because there was that one woman. Her name was it the Dragon Queen, the Dragon Princess, or something. She was
Wu Zetian?
yes, she was an intense lady.
She was.
Yeah.
Also the main antagonist for the Detective D series of movies and TV shows for anyone who's interested.
What really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't get more antagonistic than than the Dragon Lady.
No.
Wow. Yeah.
So, the reason I brought it up was to ask about the influences. So, you had studied all this art history.
Yeah.
You've got a dark fantasy / dark techno fantasy future book going.
Yes. Yeah.
How much of that history would you say influenced what Blood Realm became?
Oh, how much of the history of just China, you mean, in that experience I was doing? Or you
Well,
just mean
history in
art
general,
history?
but China
Okay.
certainly. Mhm.
Well, certainly for sure, we're going to see it big time in one particular humanoid race that we haven't explored yet. We touched on it, which is the Cyclops clans of Odragar, and they're influenced by Mongolian designs and their armor mixed with a little Ottoman, the East, maintaining the East. And it's just the idea. It was just so wild to me that it was very imaginative too for me too. The idea that I would say that there are far off places on the opposite side of the earth was really inspiring, for storytelling. That while I'm here in this spot, there is an entirely other, different, fascinating culture and civilization at the same time, but on the opposite side of the globe, which was so cool. It just it felt like world building, but real time, So,
Yeah,
thank you.
for sure.
Thank you. Because if I wasn't so damn poor, I'd absolutely would back Rob Geronimo's work. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, BGC.
Isn't since we're here, aren't there a lot of digital back issues on Alterna.com?
Yes, and also if someone wanted to, you could absolutely get the $10 digital bundle on my Indiegogo campaign, so you can get the soundtrack and the latest issues. So so there is an option for that, if permitting, of course. But I really appreciate the comment. Thank you so much.
So yeah, did you ever find that in studying the art and the cultures that went with these art, did it ever sort of change your way of thinking about things?
Yes, it did, in terms of how big the world is. That's for sure. How massive the world is and how old civilizations are. It's one thing when, it's tough. When I talk to students, even in my own class, about history, right? Even just today, my day job is that. And it's really hard to fathom in our own country how old civilizations are that have existed in other countries. But here, we have the native tribes. But the thing is too that the really old things here are within nature, which is magnificent. We have unbelievable landscapes here. But when you go to the Great Wall and when you see things that man built that are thousands of years old, it hits a little different. It's a different thing. Nature hits you, it humbles you big time because you're like, wow, this has been here for millions of years. But then when you go to something but you expect that because it's nature. But when you see something that man has built, it was one of you, and then you see the stone and you see that it's still there, or the terracotta soldiers, which that was a mind-numbing experience for me, seeing the terracotta soldiers. I'll never forget that when I walked in there.
They were pretty cool. The only thing I'll say is I thought there'd be a lot more. Because you look at the pictures and it just seems like they're everywhere.
Yes.
And the thing
they
is,
have the museum too in the back.
Yeah. And the thing is, in the pits, they used to be all in there, but the government
Yes.
is like taking them out and giving them to other countries for their museums and whatnot. They've done it so much that there's only like one section where it's totally full.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So when I went there in 2010, 11.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know because it was pretty full, but someone had mentioned that not all of them are here. But for me at the time, I remember seeing it because there was still so many. I was like, "Geez!" I was like, "Really? There's more?"
Oh,
And
maybe they changed it up. I went, I think, in 2006,
oh,
and there was one section that it
a
was
big
totally
section.
full, yeah, and it
Yeah.
looked awesome. But then there were other. I remember there were other covered sections
Okay, I do remember that.
under, like, not the
Tarp.
dome, but
Oh,
the
oh,
whatever you walk under,
yes.
and it's like, oh, it's a pit. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's the excavation site, from what I believe. But I didn't know that they were handing stuff off. That's pretty crazy. Oh no,
Well, back in the day, China wasn't such a wealthy country, and
that's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
I actually saw two of them in Brazil up close. It
Wow.
was it
Is
was
that permanent
very
collection?
that was in a private collection.
A
Uh, this family had tons of money,
Who do
and
you know?
they had them like outside the front door.
Oh, my brain is trying to compute that. What you just they had the two terracotta soldiers outside their front door
Yep,
in Brazil.
in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro area.
Wow. I hope it's gated.
Yeah,
Okay.
whew, they got
That's a,
money.
I would say. Wow. Uh, I have so many questions for you. I want to know who these people are, but I think you're gonna. I don't know. Maybe you
They
can't
well,
spill those beans.
I don't want to say, but I'll just say they're so wealthy.
Yeah.
They built a shopping mall, and then right across, which had all the high end brands like Hermes and all that kind of stuff. And then right across the street, like, I mean, literally right across the street, they built another shopping mall for poorer people.
Wow. Oh.
It's just it blew my mind.
Wow. Okay. I don't even know how one acquires all of that wealth and also able
Well,
to. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Good point. Good point.
I don't ask those kind of questions down there.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
never
Especially
know.
while you're down there, you don't want to do
Yeah, yeah.
that. Yeah. Wow. Okay. But that was an incredible experience seeing that and these sculptures. I'm like, man, wow. Think about how old the world is and old civilizations that have so much history. And this emphasis on the afterlife really fascinated me too, especially
Hmm.
with a lot of the emperors, how the
Mhm.
concubines would be buried with them and the slaves and all that. And I was like, man, this is intense. It was like wow, it was crazy. It'd be like 300 would be thrown in there, and then I was like, oh my goodness. But that was great story content for rituals for certain races in Blood Realm and species in Blood Realm. So all of this Blood Realm now has really become an amalgam of all of my experiences with history and traveling. Now it's really, in my opinion, especially particularly with this latest volume, really come to like this solid, I would say, form now or evolution.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so, are you sort of at like a jumping off point in your story where it's like, all right, now I've done all the hardcore
Mm.
world building, and boom, it's full steam ahead from here?
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. I didn't realize it until I started this volume, because now I feel like I have such a huge, I would say, understanding of my world now, greater than I ever had before. Now I feel I can really expand on a lot of things without it feeling, of course, like I'm beating you over the head with lore and all that stuff. Like I feel
Mhm,
like I don't
mhm.
need to anymore. Although I didn't feel like I was, but now I can really just I don't know. I know this world so well now that it's a different playing field.
Yeah, and to me, that's one of the big differences about writing fantasy
Hmm.
versus historical stuff, or
Mm.
even so, even if we took a book like like King Cryptid, you Pete, if he wanted to, could just like look up Google Earth and be like,
Right.
oh, okay, this road goes here and that goes there.
Oh, right, right,
Um,
right.
he could, oh, is there a
Because it's
mall
it's
near
in the
there?
real world kind of thing.
Eh,
Right, right,
Yeah, exactly. And you only need to modify a few things to make it feel
right,
real.
right.
How, like, do you have a big Bible of like, how of like, okay, this place is called this and the, uh,
Mm,
because for me, when I unfortunately started on my own path of creating a game,
hmm.
I at one point I said I'm forgetting more things than I remember, so I really need to like
Yeah.
I need to keep a database or a Bible of like, okay, this is this city, and this little river goes into that city,
Oh,
and
sure.
this is the guard at the gate.
Yeah.
Like, do you have all that somewhere?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. It's mainly in a bunch of these. I have a bunch of little ones, and they're all kind of numbered. This one's a fresh one, so I just cracked this one open, but I'll number them each one. They're like because the reason I do them small is because I may need to carry. I take this wherever I go, so
Hmm.
this is really it's most there's sketches in here, but most of these are just filled with notes, filled with lore, and I always have to have my map close by because if I'm talking about certain regions in Mordrin, I have to be like, okay, wait a minute, let's be realistic. If this guy's going to make this journey, should I make him go all the way down to this part? Because that seems pretty high, far fetched. Even from my story, I need to make him go to this region because this makes more sense. And then by him going to a specific other region, now it creates a whole new story. So
Mm.
yeah, so it's important to have the understanding and everything there because if I'm not looking at that stuff, like my references of my world, I may veer off track and suddenly go, I made a boo boo.
And of course, with comic fans, somebody will come and find that.
1000%. 1000%. I got to be
Uh,
ready.
have you ever sort of like, when you take that kind of a path
Hmm.
where it's like, okay, this has to make sense, it has to go here or there. Do you ever have sort of other adventures sort of like pop up in the middle of a story
Oh,
that
yeah, sure.
you're like, oh, well, they're here, so this is going to happen?
Oh, of course. Of course. And then you have to control yourself and think, oh, okay, is this necessary? Uh, because I can veer off into a whole thing. And then I'm saying, but is this moving the main plot? Is this going to get me into trouble now, into a plot hole, or just in general, just a whole new story that I need to finish the one I'm working on? That happens all the time. It's like constant temptation. Like, don't you want to come in this part of the region and see what's over here? I'm like, no, at a later date, at a later date.
And when you do that, do you ever sort of like throw out a little bit of red meat for the readers in terms of like, oh, I'll just mention this little thing, and if they
Sure.
respond well, then we're going back there?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. That has happened. That's happened a couple of times, and it's actually going to really happen in this new one, this latest one. There's a couple of things I have mentioned a number of times, in fact, and now I've been waiting for the right opportunity to reveal it and show a particular place, and now we're going to see it. For instance, Vorogoth is the main city, and we're going to really see it for the first time at its utter decadence when it's ruled by that mage race. So I've been dying to do
Hmm.
this. I've been really dying to do this because we talked about what a magnificent city it is and how many people ruled it and how the mages founded it. And at that point, it was the greatest it had ever looked. Well, now we could see what that looked like finally. So it's being patient too.
Nice.
I mean, not the reader, me.
So, like when you do that and you want to make the city, are you kind of the kind of writer who's like, okay, I'm gonna write this, and then like something new happens. Oh, okay, now I'll write a little bit for this other area, and like
Mm,
go that way? Or are you more the kind who's like, no, I got to make a map of this city. I got to write details of this
mm.
sector is this and that one's that, and here's the
Ooh,
suburbs. And
that's a good point. Probably not entirely because sometimes I want it to evolve a little bit naturally. I don't want to be because I want to leave room in case I need to say, you know what, and now considering this story, I need to move this building over here. This building
Mhm.
should be for that purpose. and the sanctuary, or the I call it the sanctum of the 13. Um, that's like the holiest site in all of temple in all of Vorogoth. It's this where these special rituals and altars are underneath the statues of the gods. And where is that situated? And I had to actually move it a little bit because I needed a character to get there from a certain place where he was. So I was like, okay, we're gonna just move the palace here instead, and then have the sanctuary there.
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. And so as we're talking about this here,
Oh yes.
um, so one thing I noticed is
Sure.
that you've got Christian Rossi.
Yes.
We've got, I saw Kier Covington,
Yep.
and there's one more who I totally forgotten. I'm sorry.
He's there up on the top. Juan Sanabria.
Juan Sanabria. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you have other people helping you out with some of the artworks for your books.
Yes.
How is that for you? Sort of like taking a little step back and having other people do more of the art.
Oh, it's in the beginning it was stressful because I'm like, oh boy, like it's one thing where I have people like in Wrath of Kings, the previous volume, I had some guest artists, but they were just doing maybe, I would say, 7-pager, 10-pager, little short stories. I'm doing the entire narrative. But with this, I was like, okay, I did issue 13, 14. If I go the rate I'm going with those 2 issues, this will take too long. The amount of work that's involved. So this has been a sweet relief having them on board illustrating, and I have to say it's been great. And working with them has been tremendous. There's certain designs that sometimes I'll say I want it like this, and they'll just do a little thing in the design that I'm like, whoa, I didn't even think of that. And they were like, oh, isn't this what you wanted? I was like, yeah, but you took it to an extra level, and I love it, because they're putting their little spin on things, and it's enhancing the universe and giving me ideas. So it creates this nice relationship as well. So it's been great.
So Blood Realm has such a distinctive style.
Mm-hmm.
Within the comics world, like you could identify it from 100 other books easily. How when you were deciding to go this route,
Mm-hmm.
how much did you say to yourself, like, it's from 100% exactly the same to like, go do whatever? Like, how did you go about that process of deciding how much to sort of give away and how much you gotta keep to
Sure.
the original?
When you say keep to the original, you mean the style, like when I draw it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I had to think about, okay, I'm like, let's be realistic. I can't draw all this, and there's certain things that I would really love to see selfishly Christian Rossi illustrate. I would love to see him do certain things in the series. And hey, thank you, Blastbeat, and hello, Robert Phillips. So I thought, I have to draw certain parts of this without a doubt. And for me, it had to be whenever Chiron is going through the worst of it. It's only right, I felt. I'm his creator, and I'm putting him through the ringer. I'm giving him a tremendous amount of hardship. I feel I would feel weird, or it would feel an injustice if I had someone else draw that, because I'm the one who is really administering this trial for him. So he's going to have trials, don't get me wrong, in theirs, but I'm drawing him. That's why 13, 14, and then the end of 18 is me. Because this is when it's the absolute worst of it. This is when his faith in himself and everything is really going to be challenged. And I felt as a creator, it was my duty to make sure I continue drawing that.
So also in contrast to a lot of previous crowdfunders, it would be like one issue of Blood Realm with a bunch of other Alterna books. Now this is solely Blood Realm here.
So
How does that sort of change your own strategy about creating a book that you've got 4 issues coming out at a time?
so first off, things have to be done in advance for sure. Like
Mhm.
books had to be done in advance before, but now even more so because now it's all prepping more um, at the same time. So I don't mind that. I find this way more just exciting, and I think it's more rewarding for the readers because now they're not just getting one book; they're getting a nice stack of books. So to me, that's way more exciting, and they're getting a complete arc. Um, so I think this is better than just waiting for one single issue. You know,
Mhm.
of course, Blasphemy.
Well, I mean, it is Blood
Always,
Realm.
always.
Uh, yeah. So, um, is this something we can expect going forward? Like once a year, you think you're going to do one campaign that has about 4 issues, or do you think you're going to up the production schedule, or how do you think it's going to work?
Um, I think one is good enough. I think one is good if we bump it up to now, maybe 4 or 5 issues a year. I think that's pretty good. I mean, I would love to get to a point to do more, but I think right now this is a pretty solid way of doing things. So I'm excited to see how this turns out. Obviously, it depends if we hit our goal.
Uh, so then, since you're doing 4 or 5 issues at a time, is it always going to be like a 4 or 5 issue arc, or do you think you'll ever just go individual episodes?
You mean like ongoings? Like I mean, excuse me, just like single issue kind of.
Yeah, more like maybe one year to be like more of an episodic run
Yeah,
between
yeah,
arcs or something like that.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I would say we got a couple of important little arcs that are going to be told, particularly in oh man, I can't. The one after Dawn of the Wolf. I already have the name for it. It's
Oh.
gonna be it's gonna be really good, really really good.
So tell us a little bit more about Dawn of the Wolf. What's going on
Sure. Yeah.
for Chiron?
Oh boy. So he's gonna go through it. He's gonna really go through it. In order to be a hero, you have to experience pain, and tragedy, and it's how you handle it and it's how you come out of it. And we see Chiron in issue 7 as that hero, but how did he get there? How did he get to be the warrior of light? This powerful title, beloved for many for centuries, loved by many for centuries. And he becomes this very powerful figure, almost a legend over the years. And now we're going to see how it all began. And it's a story that I always had in mind, and it developed more and more and more as time went on. And I said, this is a story that really needs to be told because this story is not just about Chiron, it's about Mordrin, it's about Vorogoth, it's about the mages, it's about the Cyclops clans, it's about Satrians, Old Beasts, everything. All of Blood Realm here. And a lot of the things that take place in this chapter really comes into play big time in the future of the series. So it's while it is in a sense an origin story, it's more than that. It's really setting the stage for the future. So it's very important.
Ah. Uh, and speaking of the future,
Mm-hmm.
you've been to the future. You've been to the past.
Yeah, yes.
Are we ever going to see like steampunk Blood Realm or hippie 1960s Blood Realm?
No, probably not. Probably not. We will eventually. We will go back to that techno timeline because that is the actual main storyline. That's the current timeline where that's the present, if you will. So we will be going back there, and it's going to be very important. But all of this is so crucial to making that return much more rewarding and just sweeter in general.
Hmm. And one of the other things that I thought was quite interesting about this campaign is, everybody's got their own.
The comments are killing me.
I
That's
mean,
what I'm talking about.
give it a few years and we could be ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go to
You-
Detroit, Blood Realm.
Everybody's got their own idea of like what swag to include with
Right.
with stuff, and various cards are
Yeah.
popular, pins are popular, patches are popular,
Yeah, we're
occasional
done with that.
posters. I think this is the first pressed vinyl I've ever seen for a comic campaign.
Here we go.
So what is it that made you say vinyl? That's where it's at.
Well, I've always I'm not a professional musician. I play guitar for fun. I'll say that. And I have two friends that are excellent musicians. And music is such a huge part of soundtracks and scores and orchestral music and classical music is just huge in terms of my creativity and getting me really pumped up to write and draw and imagine scenes. So I had to do it. Had to do it. So I was like, that's it. That is it. And of course, I noticed a lot of people are tired of Prince, are tired of all the extra stuff. I asked readers. I was like, what do you? They were like, we throw that stuff out. We're not really into it. So I was like, you know what? I want to do a vinyl. I want to do a vinyl. And but I had Eric Weathers on my channel, by the way. We had a great discussion about that stuff.
Did he? Eric did it? Oh.
Well, I don't know if he did it
that.
first. I have no idea. I don't know when he put that up on his thing, but they told me that. They were like, Eric Weathers has a vinyl too. I was like, oh no way. I was like, that's great. This has been in the works though for a long time. The music has been. I don't know if you guys saw the channel with my friend and the composer of it. We've been working on the music since, my goodness, what is that? 2020, 2019. The end of 2019. Wow. We've been working on it for a long time, little by little, as he was working on the songs, and I was in between work. We're going back and forth about just edits, what kind of tone we want, and then finally it was during COVID where he was like, "Hey, listen, I got more time. Let's just do this," and we did it. And I had all this music, and I was like, you know what? I think I could really do the vinyl now, and here it is.
How hard was it to find a company to press the vinyl?
There are actually plenty. There are actually
really?
plenty. Yeah. The only hard thing is that you have to get in there kind of like ahead of time because it's like could be like a 12-week turnaround.
So okay.
Depending. So how many you have and the process of it all. So it wasn't that long for me with this presser, but you have to plan ahead, and that's why I had everything ready to go, and that's why they're here already, because I couldn't afford to have everybody wait too long for them. So I knew I was going to make this regardless, and there's only 100 of them, and we have 17 left, 16 left. I think there's 16 left.
See, is that the Warrior of Light bundle or
Warrior of
Light
bundle?
Here we go.
And then there's that's the digital
bundle, yeah.
And then there's an add-on for it. You could do it as an add-on.
Okay.
So yeah.
I like the Blood Realm blanket.
Oh, I love the blanket. It's great. So cozy. So cozy. And a great price. It's huge.
Is it one of those Snuggie blankets?
Yeah.
Or just like a regular
it's a fleece blanket.
Fleece blanket. Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And then I love the sweatshirts too.
Oh yeah, of course. Me too.
I gotta figure out where you and Pete are getting these printed because those look awesome.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. He is, so I wish I couldn't help you there. But oh yeah, they look great. They look great.
Let's see. Yeah, Buddha Bear says, I don't think I've seen him show one off yet. So you got that?
So I got that. Yeah, he's in the process of finding a presser. Yeah, we were talking off stream, so I'm really excited to read his story too. I ordered Battle Brick Road, the first one.
Yeah, the first one was a lot of fun.
I'm ready for it. We had a good discussion, and I know he was kind enough to back my campaign as well, and he got himself a record. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So pretty soon we'll have a new genre of music, comic book music.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's awesome. And I want to do more of this, to be honest with you. I mean, I would like to do a second printing of a different color vinyl. Um,
Ooh,
my buddy and I are developing. We would like to do it. We want to see that, if these go, we definitely want to do a heavy metal album inspired by Blood Realm.
that would be awesome.
Yeah. So
Are you gonna go through and put like a discography for each book? Like, okay, issue 15 on page 4, play this song.
play this track. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Somebody did that once. I want to say it was James O'Barr,
Oh,
but
cool.
but I've seen it before. I just can't remember who did it.
I don't know. But yeah, it's super cool. Super cool. Yeah, I agree with you, Blast Beat. Comics are movies that don't move. I know. And what's even cooler is that you don't need a budget. Just do it.
Well,
depending
I
if
don't
you're
know.
hiring people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, you got to get those books printed, but
Of course, but not nearly. It's not going to cost you $100 million.
So now that you're at issue 18, this is something that we haven't really seen that much from Alterna, which is, compilations of books or issues that, really go on for quite some time. In this campaign, you can buy a lot of the back issues.
Yes.
You can go on alterna.com and get some back issues.
Yes.
And there's the digital bundle here. And I think there were digital ones there. So is that sort of your strategy in the future to re-release single issues, or are you ever thinking of making like a trade paperback, or where do you think the entry point for Blood Realm will come in the future?
So eventually, Pete said himself that you can't keep reprinting, issue and issue and issue, when they're sold out. At a certain point, we're going to have to do something. So we're probably, like, for instance, volume 1, the trade, the Giants are sold out. And I believe there's only reader copies left of issue 2 and 3. So we're going to have to do some type of official trade that can be reprinted. And that'll kind of conclude the printings of volume 1. So at a certain point, we're going to have to start trades. But I would like to do an omnibus, of course, once it's all done. It's probably going to have to be split into 2, considering the story that's coming. But yeah, it will be a big story, and I would like a collection for sure.
Do you kind of have an end for the Blood Realm story in mind?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. I've had the ending for, I would say, since the beginning. Yeah, I know the ending. I know how it's going to end. It's been growing, though, so not, I would say, not 100% the same, but in terms of like the spirit of it, it's been expanding, but still the same exact kind of vibe of that ending is the same. And it's I know the ending. It's just now making, I would say, the experience much more rewarding when we finally do get there.
And what do you think of digital distribution? Do you think it's not quite there, or it's doing well, or you think it's going to pick up?
It's not really as big. I can't speak for Pete entirely, but it's not. He already guessed it. Damn, Blast Beat got it. At the end of Blood Realm, Tony Soprano looks up and the screen goes black. Chiron's sitting there, looks up, and it goes black.
Okay, well, don't pull a George R.R. Martin and just not write the last 3 books or something.
No, we won't have that. No, I think digital is cool, for people who maybe can't get the physicals, but I don't know. I think people want physical now. People really want the physical.
Yeah, I've been kind of wondering, because if you look at the market in its totality, like manga is eating American comics lunch.
Eating them alive.
Overall. Yeah. But even manga, they're trending more towards digital, at least for Japan. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure what's going on here with that yet. But then you have companies like Webtoons, which seem to be doing. The company Webtoon seems to be doing well. I'm just not 100% sure how much the people who are putting up there do well.
I wouldn't think they're doing that. I mean, I can't, like I said, I can't speak for them, but I can't imagine, them doing that great, personally.
Yeah, I think they're on their way down to there were
Mhm.
two pieces of big news out within the last week or two. And the second one is
Mhm.
the one that concerns me the most is Webtoons updated their policy to where they have the rights to buy your IP if you post on their site.
Yeah, no. Okay. Absolutely
So
not.
technically it's creator owned until they want to buy until you do something that's good enough to be worth buying it. Uh,
uh,
so which is very unfortunate to me, but for a lot of the newbies coming up, as a guy who's with Alterna, and Alterna is creator owned,
yeah,
how important is that for you that
extremely.
you own the rights?
Oh, extremely. I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. The Because I can make figures if I wanted to. I could make a vinyl. I don't need permission. Uh, oh
Mhm.
yeah, no, I wouldn't be doing this if that weren't the case, because I have all of this wonderful freedom, working with Pete and Alterna. I'm able to take it wherever I want, and that's the thing, that's what it invites. What's harder for most people is that it's a lot more work for the creator, of
Mhm.
course. But how do I know that if I had a publisher who owned this, that they would actually make a vinyl? They'd probably be like, nah, the market's not there. No, I want to do it, and now I can.
Mhm.
So yeah, 100%. I wouldn't do it otherwise.
I mean, is that the way that you would recommend people who are interested in dipping their toe in the comics business go 100% indie, or do you think?
I mean, ugh,
I mean, if Disney came with $1 billion, the answer might be different.
a
But
billion. Whoa. I'd be afraid, though. I know the money sounds great, but I don't. It'd be really rough if to see like what they may do, and some kind of company come in and just destroy Blood Realm. I wouldn't be able to live, with myself like that. Like I'd be sitting there going, "What is that?" You look up and you see banners of some kind of just tarnished version of Blood Realm. I can't. Yeah, that's a heartbreak. That's a heart. You just sent me down there, man.
well, let's hopefully bring you back up a little. So you're chugging along 4 or 5 issues of Blood Realm a year.
Yes.
Um, can we expect a return of Wirehead?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to uh, bring Wirehead back. I have 15 pages done for a sequel, and this will be
Nice.
like basically like a definitive, possibly. I say that, but it's going to be a really nice ending, and it's gonna be really cool. So if people were fans of that first book, you guys are gonna really really like, what's coming for that eventually. Oh,
So you've got a lot on your
goodness.
plate
Yeah,
with the two series.
yeah.
Um, do you ever sort of find yourself like coming up with ideas outside of those two? Like, oh, I should work on that. Oh, but I can't.
Uh, let's see. In terms of like original stories, right? Like
Sure.
original. Okay.
Things that you want to work on.
Okay. So, I I would say, let's see. No, because what happens is a lot of those stories end up working their way into Blood Realm. So I
Hmm.
wanted to have a kind of sci-fi horror story where we have this creature that's hunting these commandos in this sci-fi base, and that ended up being Wrath of Kings. We have Captain Fulcher hunting the Wyler and his team going in there. So, and it turned into a grander story. So, like, little concepts sound cool, but now I'm kind of just, all right, well, great. Instead of me veering off track with Blood Realm, how about we put these stories that excite me and now just season Blood Realm? You know what I mean? It just seasons
Hmm.
it more. So
Ah.
that's mainly it. I mean, I often sometimes say, "Oh, I'd like to do something, you know, tell some type of like biblical story of Samson, because there's so many
Ooh.
great visuals there of he's
Mhm.
pushing the pillars and he's blind, just I always find that really incredible. The biblical figures have influenced my work because I would read them as a kid. So and there's something about Samson that's just totally wild.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy. Exactly.
I mean, it's his
Those
own fault, but poor
Philistines. It
guy.
it is it is his own fault. That's the tragedy of him. That's what I like
He's
about it.
yeah, he's that guy who you're like, yeah, I understand. I understand.
You know that guy. You have a guy like that
Oh, I think
unfortunately.
most of us have been that guy at one point.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. You're right. I agree. But yeah, it's just and it's the ending of it is so dark and so cool that I'm like, oh man. But you know what happens? I want to draw that, then I start sketching it out, and then I get ideas for Blood Realm. Like, well, what if something
Hmm.
like this was in Blood Realm, and now I could just draw inspiration from the biblical figures, and then kind of incorporate my own twist on a Blood Realm character that's kind of inspired by that particular chapter. So yeah.
So, sort of circling back to our discussion earlier about history and whatnot. Um, how do you sort of balance, like there's religious Bible and then
Mhm.
there's like historical things happened Bible,
Okay.
in the sense that like when the people who wrote the Bible
Hmm.
were writing the books, like they weren't making it up out of whole cloth, because we
Right.
found a lot of historical evidence of like, oh, this city actually existed.
Sure,
They
sure,
actually did wear this kind of clothes, or whatever.
sure.
Um, so like, how do you sort of balance that when you're taking that from inspiration? How do you balance the religiosity with the historical version,
How do I balance it? Hmm.
or how do you decide what parts to take?
Uh, I just take what's written, and then that kind of leads me to delve deeper into what was going on there. So if that helps, like
Hmm.
what, for instance, I, although it's not biblical, I've been heavily influenced lately in Bronze Age kind of Greece,
Mhm.
and finding out that because I read the Iliad not too long ago, the idea that now we strongly believe it was a real battle that took place, and a lot of the weaponry that's described in the Iliad is Bronze Age. So this more than likely took place. This epic battle, possibly with this Trojan horse, took place in Bronze Age Turkey. In that area
Mhm.
because that's where we believe Troy, the city of Troy was. So I take the text, of course, and the religiosity of it as well. And then I want to dive deeper into what life was like for them. What are some of the artifacts that we have? Is the ones that are, I would say, um, not quite well, relics and sacred relics, and then the ones that are actual archaeological, like I would say, building structures, daggers. Like in ancient uh, Assyrian kings, they had like an obsidian dagger, that was used for ceremonies. So it kind of just mushrooms from there. So I find that the text, the scripture is a great jumping off point because you have the incredible themes, you have the incredible stories, the incredible figures, the incredible settings. And then what happens is I want to go now, okay, well, wow, now I really want to learn more about the setting. I now want to learn about these other kingdoms that they're talking about. What do we have of them? What do we know of them? And also, do they have other stories of their own that are there other different, like for instance, I'll give you one right now, that in Mesopotamia there's the lion hunt. We're going to have something like that the king would always need to slay a lion because it would represent him controlling chaos, you
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
and to show his prowess. So we're going to have a scene like that in this series. So taking it all and how it kind of just leads me to all of these different incredible paths.
Oh, very cool.
Does
Uh,
that answer the question?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, okay.
And so when you sort of pick things out like this, do you ever find that modern audiences have a little bit difficulty relating to them? Just in the sense that, like, in the West, most people aren't very religious anymore.
Right.
Most people aren't very good with history either.
No, you're
And
telling me.
and both the religion and the history that we do have
Mhm.
more or less been Christian history for
Right,
about 1500 years. So
right.
it kind of like it permeates the culture and sort of drowns out all these other influences.
Okay.
So do you think that people sort of have a little difficulty relating to the old things, or they just sort of take it as it comes, or
When we say the people, do you mean like my readers?
yeah, readers in general, or
Um,
modern audiences, let's put it that way.
well, I mean, I don't know if they would know the references right away, but um, if anything, that it hopefully it gives Blood Realm a solid sense of time and place because by having the certain garbs, it makes it feel authentic and real, and customs and culture and ceremonies gives it grounds the story and the cultures into a place that feels as if it's real. It feels
Hmm.
real. And and I would say that people come onto my streams and ask me what some of my influences are, and I may say, oh well, actually, that design, if you like that design, you should go check this out because my influence was ancient Mesopotamia for this particular part of the story. Or, oh, how did you come up with the design for these monks in the monasteries? Well, exactly what you said, monasteries. I'm a big fan of medieval art and medieval history, so so that would be it. So maybe that may be an invitation for them to seek it out because they're curious, because there's something about this stuff that feels familiar, although they may not know why it's familiar. It's because it's history, you know.
And so I was kind of wondering, your students,
Hmm.
because you are a professor,
Yes.
Professor Draws. Um,
It's my last name. You're right. Professor Draws.
uh, do they see Blood Realm? Do you show them what you're working on there?
Sometimes, but usually at the end. Normally at the end
Hmm,
of the semester, because I don't
okay,
want them to feel
like they have
like
to copy your style.
yeah, copy my style, or uh I would say for the art history students, I show it at the end. But when it's my actual art students, because then it's different. I want them to see how I work. I don't do it in the beginning, like you said. I kind of do it right in. Maybe that's toward the middle, when they start getting a sense of how I work, and then because I want to get see where they are in terms of their voices, but they do know about Blood Realm. Yeah.
And so, do they pick up the references? And do they sort of like, because when you sort of have a new mind,
Hmm.
I shouldn't say a new mind, but
I know
when you
what you
have
mean.
people who are inexperienced in the industry, a lot of people think like, oh, I have to do something 100% original. I can't, go look at influences, reference images, forget it.
Oh no, that's
Um,
crazy. That's crazy. No,
you know, when when
like
they
do
see
they
that and
go?
then they see Blood Realm, they're like, oh, that makes
Yes,
sense
yes,
now.
yes. That's what I tell them. I said, like for years, people have been digesting history and digesting mythology and religion, and basically, when we create our stories and come up with our styles, we're trying to make sense of it all. We're trying to make sense of the world around us, and there's parts of history there. There's themes of the modern world, that maybe not quite in a sense a commentary on things, but
Hmm.
it's subtlety. I think is very important. Something that we've lost in today's time. But yeah, I mean, it can help. I think some of my students have commented like, "Oh my God, wow! I could see how like for instance, the image right at the bottom. The second one is heavily influenced by the Roman Forum. You know, was the Roman Forum 100% just absolutely blew me away in the grandness of Rome, and I wanted Vorogoth to have that vibe. So when they see that, they go, "Oh my professor, I recognize Corinthian columns, I recognize Ionic columns and Doric columns." I said, "Yes, you see, this is how I digest all of the subject matter in this class. This is how it comes through. Now, for someone else in this class may say, well, I'm a musician. Well, you may be influenced by all this history, and it may make come through the way you write your music, So
Mhm.
it's a huge, I would say, ignition for creativity.
Hmm.
It ignites creativity.
So now are you gonna whip out the Blood Realm vinyl when you show them the Blood Realm stuff too?
I am, only because I'm going to say this is where you can take it, because in this age, it's only as far as you want it to go.
Hmm.
So
All right. So out of curiosity, who are you reading these days?
who am I reading? Actually, what am I reading? So, comics or novels or just anything?
Anything.
Right now, I'm reading. I'm almost done. I'm reading Pax by Tom Holland. It is a fantastic read of the I would say the golden, not the golden, but the Pax Romana, of
Oh,
Rome, and
interesting.
how it came to be and how it ended. So I've been thoroughly enjoying that, taking down notes and doing a lot of research for Vorogoth and how it fell, because we do know from the previous issues that Chiron Morvel led this incredible rebellion, and the humans claim Vorogoth for themselves. So I'm fascinated by kingdoms that fell. That's why I read the Iliad. That's why I'm reading all this history on Rome, and figures like Odysseus. I read this wonderful story of the Odyssey. Well, it's a retelling of the Odyssey. It's really great. So, so yeah, 100%. All of that stuff is influencing me, and that's what I've been reading right now. I have a whole list of books for the year.
So Kanek asks, may have been asked, but does modern events have any impact on context story here?
Sure, without a doubt, 100%. The theme of falling, like nations falling, is I would say relatable to any civilization,
Mhm.
and being a student of history, and yes, I teach it, but I'm always a student. I think it's always important to be a student all the time. And man, there are certain similarities that's relatable to every civilization when you read about what ends up causing the fall of a nation. So I find that stuff very, very interesting. And also, as well, technology. Technology and how fast it's growing. That's certainly something that I'm 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 intrigued by and terrified of at the same time. So that's why we had that that big jump into this techno world of Mordrin, where history itself is almost it's beyond a memory. It's like it never happened. When you go to that era, especially when we see Targanis destroying everything that resembled or was a relic of the old world before he conquered. So, and that was I wrote that back in 2018. So it's
Hmm.
there is something about this stuff that we have certain it's like foreboding in a way. Sci-fi can be a little foreshadowing.
Let's see here. There we go. Another question: do other authors' books have an influence either? So I think
Although
maybe she's talking about like fiction work.
fiction work, okay. Let's see, what did I read? What did I read recently? Fiction. Novel wise, I don't read a lot of fiction. Um, but let's see. Believe it or not, Devil Dinosaur by Jack Kirby is one of my go tos.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
I love it. I love it so much. Uh, Mainly because anything could happen in that book, and it's just there's something about it. It's just so cozy. You open up that book, and then you just know Jack's taking you on a ride with dinosaurs, giants, and then aliens. It's like it's all over the place, and I love it. It feels like anything could happen. Really, truly, anything could happen with Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy, and they're quick reads too. So it's not too long, but I want to maintain that kind of vibe. Uh, that's something that I always kind of just keep at my nightstand. It's pretty close by. But
Hmm.
in terms of a book that heavily influenced my work, that I haven't read this in a while, but something that led a really great lasting impact, um, was Jodorowsky's Meta Barons. That's Meta Barons was huge for me in terms of this big sweeping epic. The artwork is epic, and the themes of fatherhood and sins of the father being passed down to the son. That's something that I really relate to. So that's one of the main themes of Blood Realm. So I would say his work, without a doubt,
Hmm.
influenced me.
So when you write for Blood Realm, Wired Head, do you
Mm.
have to get yourself in a certain mood to be able to write certain parts of the book?
Uh, yeah, sure, absolutely, all the time, all the
What do
time.
you do to get yourself in the mood?
Music, music, orchestral soundtracks. That's why I was saying music is such a big influence on my creative process. It's so important. That's why, again, I wanted to create this vinyl. But yeah, no, 100% music is a big deal. I got to get into that mood. I have to get in there. I have to get into that, especially depending on the scene. If it's an epic war scene, I gotta really hear some up tempo stuff. Something from, I don't know,
Some
um,
Wagner.
yeah, some Wagner, exactly right. But then, if we're gonna get a little bit more solemn, I may put on Brahms, and in movie soundtracks too, Last of the Mohicans, depending on the
Mm.
scene. So all of that. That's basically what's on my phone. To be perfectly honest, is all that stuff.
So Buddha Bear asks, "Did you ever create your own risk map and world?" Well, I mean,
No,
you
I
do
ha-
have the
I have the map, but not a Risk world. But I would love a game one day. You never know.
interesting. That could be a lot of fun.
Sure.
So Kanik asks, "Have you ever had writer's block? And if so, what have you done to overcome it? Additionally, do you struggle with putting your stories on paper?"
Sure. Oh yeah, there's moments I get writer's block. And mainly it's because I need to step away. And sometimes I'm too stubborn to say that I need to step away. And I have to step away from the story. And normally, in my recommendation for anyone who has writer's block, is take a break and go immerse yourself into the things that got you excited to make art in the first place. So whether it be music or whether it be video games, whether it be movies, something that's not comics, something to just get out of it just a little bit. What's another medium that you enjoy, whether it be novels, or maybe it
Mhm.
is a comic. But for me, if I'm reading a comic, then I'm on the comic brain. You know what I mean? And I need to step away. So I like to do that. Sometimes it's a film, sometimes it's a novel, um, and sometimes it's just I need to just get into another world, like a video game, like Demon Souls or something like that, and just lose myself into that. It forces me to really give that full attention and just separate myself for a little bit, and then slowly the juices start coming back. And talking to other people who are excited about their books, it kind of gets me excited again, and like, okay, all right, I'm ready.
Oh, very cool. Are you a big gamer?
I was. I haven't had as much time, but I do play. There's really basically it's mainly the old school stuff. If I when I pop it in, it's Doom. It's the old Doom 3.
Nice.
Yeah, those I play. That, but in terms of the new stuff, it's the only one game that's new that I really play is Demon Souls, because I was such a huge fan of that game when it came out on the PS3 way back. It was the only reason I got the PS5, to be honest with you, because
Hmm.
that's a game I adore. And Quake 1 and 2, I love those. But Doom, yeah, Doom is very special.
That's a game that needs a vinyl release.
Yeah, I think I must have one. Must have one. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
be
ran it.
surprised.
Somehow I went into, I was researching something and went down a rabbit hole of like, young people react to, or like young musicians react to the Quake soundtrack or
Yeah,
Doom soundtrack. I mean,
Dude
and
soundtrack.
it's like, wow,
It's
okay.
amazing. It's amazing. I have that on. That's actually on my phone when I needed to get in that techno region, that
Hmm.
period in Blood Realm. I had that on. I was God. Quake 1, Quake 2, Doom 1, 2, 3, and that's 64. Doom 64 was really good too. Yeah. No, I love those. I still have those. They're right there.
All right. Well, we'll take one more question, as I know you have to freshen up and get ready
Yes, for
to
Pete's
talk
stream.
about pencils and pens
Yes, I
for
see.
Pete.
I know. Uh,
Uh,
okay. Well, let's
so
see.
Kanik asks, while it's a good problem, do you find yourself pulled into the multiple stories theme? And if so, how do you decide which one to prioritize?
Um, so normally what happens is when I get into the multiple stories pull, uh, usually by a day or two, I know if I'm still excited about it. So sometimes I'm really excited about a story and then I'm feeling it and the next day and I'm like, do I still love this as much as yesterday? And then next day will go by and be like, no, I don't. So stick with the one that I'm most excited. Um, that gets me most excited. So sometimes you need that barometer. You got to be honest with yourself and say, all right, do I love this story? You have to love it because you're going to spend a year and a half working on it. So, like this particular volume was a year and a half in the works. I mean, I've been working on this for a long time. So, you have to make sure, at least for me, and I can tell already when I'm going to love it, is like, all right, is this a story that I'm going to think about and work on for the next, my goodness, 12 to 12 and a half months. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so you better like it.
you better like it, you know? So that's how I kind of, when I do feel pulled, it's usually like that. You know, it's like, okay, do I really want to spend a year of my life on this story? Oh, of course. Thank you so much. And then the Imperial March theme is one of my favorites.
That's great. That's when I was still married to my ex-wife. That was her ringtone.
Ah, oh, wow.
So on that note,
Yes.
for anyone who's interested, Blood Realm, Dawn of the Wolf,
Yes.
catch the current issues, catch the back issues, hoodies,
Hmm.
blankets,
That's right.
vinyls,
The
all
vinyl.
available. The link to the Indiegogo is pinned to the chat. It's also down in the description for anyone looking for it.
Hmm.
Also, there is a link to Rob's Twitter and his own website.
Oh, thank you.
So go check him out there.
Thank you very much.
Uh, all right. Any last thoughts?
I think Kane there is talking about.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh man. No, just thank you so much for watching, and I hope you consider backing the project. We're so close, so close to that funding goal. So we really appreciate if you could help us get there. I'm really passionate about this story. I'm working really hard to give you guys something that's, I would say, unforgettable. You know, so thank you so much for considering and checking out the campaigns. I really appreciate you.
Yeah. So everyone, thanks for coming. If you're enjoying talking with Rob, go to Comic Book Radio, Peter Sameti's channel. I think it's 9 or 9:30. You're on there.
9:30, he said.
9:30. Oh, okay. So you got a little time, a little break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Pete's channel's great. Go check that out. I will be on the Dungeon Delvers channel on Friday, getting back to playing some classic Gamma World and my own guide, Empire of the Undying Sun. Figured out most of the website problems. That will hopefully be done in another week or two, where I will have a sign up sheet for the campaign guide.
Nice. Excellent. Sounds
All
great.
right. So, Rob, thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
Looking forward to getting my copies in the mail.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for your support.
All right. And I guess we'll see you soon.
Sounds great. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Night, everyone.